My daughter stole $22 million from me. Then the man she trusted vanished overnight. I was folding laundry when the first call came. A Tuesday. Nothing special about it. The sun was coming through the kitchen windows the way it always did around 10 in the morning. I had my good glasses on, the ones with the thin gold frames that my daughter Allison bought me 3 Christmases ago. She always had good taste, expensive taste. I used to think that was because she learned from me. Now I think it was because she was always practicing for something bigger. The laundry was warm, towels mostly. Some of my husband Frank's button-down shirts that he never wore anymore because he said the collars felt tight. He was 72. His neck had thickened over the years, but he refused to buy new shirts, said the old ones just needed to be stretched out. I remember laughing at that, folding his blue striped shirt and thinking what a silly, stubborn man I married. 43 years of silly stubborn, and I loved every thread of it. The phone rang. Not my cell, the house phone, the one in the hallway on the little oak table that used to belong to my mother. I almost didn't answer it. Nobody calls the house phone anymore except telemarketers or my sister Carol, who refuses to learn how to use FaceTime. But I was already standing, already walking toward the sound, so I picked it up. It was the bank, not a robot, a real person.
I was Elizabeth Kowalski. When I told her, she asked if I was Eleanor Kowalski. I said yes. She asked me to confirm my social security number. I hesitated. You hear about scams. But she had information. My name, my address, the last 4 digits of my account. She said there had been unusual activity on my main checking account, the one tied to the house, the one that held the money from the sale of my father's company. I asked her what kind of unusual activity. She paused. That pause was the first crack in everything. She said the account balance had been reduced by $2.2 million over the course of the last 6 months. The transfers were done in weekly increments, each transfer just under $10,000, probably to avoid automatic reporting flags. She said the transfers were authorized through online banking, using my login credentials. I did not have online banking. I told her that. My voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that comes from not understanding what you are hearing. She asked me to come into the branch as soon as possible. She asked if there was someone in my household who might have access to my personal information. I said my husband. She asked if he handled the finances. I said no, I handled the finances. I always handled the finances. Frank never even looked at a bank statement. He trusted me completely. That was our marriage. We were a team. He built things with his hands.
I built things with paper. I hung up the phone. I stood in the hallway for a long time. The laundry was still warm in the other room. I could smell the fabric softener, the lavender kind. I started thinking about the little things, the tiny moments I had ignored. Allison asking me to show her where I kept the tax returns. Allison asking me to help her set up online access so she could pay my bills for me because she said I deserved to rest. Allison saying she wanted to take care of me because I had taken care of her for so many years. That was last spring, April. She came over with her boyfriend. His name was Derek. He was younger than her, 38 to her 45. He had a good smile and expensive shoes and a way of looking at you like you were the only person in the room. Frank didn't like him, said he was too smooth. I told Frank he was being paranoid. Our daughter was happy. Derek made her laugh. He bought her nice things, a new car, a vacation to Cabo, a diamond bracelet for her birthday. I thought he was generous. I thought he was successful. I thought he was perfect for her. I didn't know he was a ghost. The bank branch was small, the one on Maple Street where I had been a customer since 1987. The manager was a woman named Patricia. She was younger than me but old enough to have seen things. She sat me down in a glass office and showed me the statements, page after page, transfer after transfer, all of them going to an account at a different bank.
An account in my name, an account I never opened. The address on that account was a mail drop in Nevada. The phone number was a burner. The signature on the application was close to mine but not exact, close enough that a tired bank teller would have let it through. Patricia asked me if I knew anyone who could have done this. I said my daughter. I don't know why I said it just came out. Patricia's face didn't change. She said they would need to file a police report. She said they would need a full forensic audit. She said the money was almost certainly gone. $2.2 million. Gone. That was not all the money. My father built a construction company in the 50s. He sold it in the 80s for a sum that I was raised never to discuss. But the money was managed wisely, invested, grown. By the time my parents passed, I had inherited a portfolio worth just over $22 million. I never lived like a rich person. I lived in the same house I bought in 1991. I drove a Honda. I clipped coupons. That money was for my children, for my grandchildren, for Frank's medical bills if he got sick, for the nursing home I never wanted to go to but knew I might need. $22 million. That was the number, and someone had been draining it. I drove home. I don't remember the drive. I remember the light, the way the afternoon sun hit the windshield. I remember thinking about Allison's 5th birthday, the way she blew out the candles on her cake, the way she looked at me like I was the whole world. I remember thinking about the first time she said she wanted to be an accountant. I was so proud. An accountant, a numbers person, like me. I taught her how to balance a checkbook when she was 12. I showed her how to read a stock ticker when she was 15. She was brilliant. She got a scholarship. She graduated top of her class. She got a job at a firm downtown. Then she met a man named Paul, married him, had 2 babies, got divorced, met Derek, fell in love again. That was her story. Or at least that was the story I believed. When I got home, Frank was in the backyard. He was trying to fix the sprinkler system. His hands were dirty. His old knees were on a foam pad. He looked up at me and smiled. That smile, the one that had never changed in 43 years. I sat down next to him on the grass. I told him what the bank said. I told him about the transfers. I told him I thought Allison was involved. His smile disappeared. He stared at the sprinkler head in his hand like it had just told him someone died. He said no. He said not our daughter. He said there had to be a mistake. I wanted to believe him. I wanted it to be a mistake more than I had ever wanted anything in my life. But I had raised Allison. I knew the way her brain worked. She was careful. She was patient. She was methodical. She would never steal money in a lump sum. She would do it slowly, in pieces, in amounts that wouldn't trigger alarms.
She would do it with love, with kindness, with, "I just want to help you, Mom." That night, I called my sister Carol. She is 3 years younger than me. We have the same tired eyes and the same stubborn jaw. I told her everything. There was a long silence on her end. Then she said something I will never forget. She said, "Eleanor, I found paperwork in Mom's desk after she died. Allison had been coming over twice a week to help with the bills. I didn't think anything of it. But after Mom passed, there were accounts missing, small ones. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to start a fight. I asked her what accounts. She named them. A savings account my mother had opened for me as a child. A CD that had matured 3 months before she died. A brokerage account with about $60,000. All of it gone. All of it signed over to Allison. All of it done with the power of attorney my mother never remembered signing. I asked Carol why she never told me. She said she was scared. She said Allison had threatened her, told her that if she said anything, Allison would make sure Carol never saw her grandchildren again. Carol believed her, because Allison had a way of making threats sound like promises wrapped in hugs. I sat in my car in the garage for an hour after that phone call. The garage door was down, the engine was off. It was dark and quiet and smelled like gasoline and old paint. I kept seeing my mother's face, the way she looked at Allison, like she was the sun.
My mother adored Allison. They were best friends. They went to lunch every Thursday, they shopped together, they talked on the phone every night. And all of that time, Allison was taking her money, slowly, gently, with a smile. The next morning, I drove to Allison's house. It was a big house, 6 bedrooms, a pool in the back, a 3-car garage with a Tesla and a Range Rover, and a vintage Corvette that Derek said was an investment. The grass was green, the flowers were blooming. It looked like a magazine. I had been so proud of her. She had done so well. She had found a man who could give her this life. I never asked questions. I never looked too closely. That was my sin. I trusted without looking. She answered the door in a white robe. Her hair was wet. She had just come from the shower. She smiled when she saw me. That smile, the same one from her 5th birthday, the same one from her college graduation, the same one from the day she told me she was pregnant with my first grandchild. She said, "Mom, what a surprise. Come in, I have fresh coffee." I walked into her kitchen. It was white marble, everything white. White cabinets, white floors, white flowers on the island. She poured me a cup of coffee from a machine that cost more than my first car. She asked me what was wrong. She could always read my face. I set the bank statements on the counter, the ones Patricia had printed for me. 23 pages. Every transfer, every date, every single dollar she took from me.
She looked at the papers. She did not pick them up. She just looked at them like they were a dog that had wandered into her kitchen. Then she looked at me, and her face changed. The smile didn't disappear. It hardened. It became something else, something I had never seen on my daughter's face before, something cold and patient and ancient. She said, "You weren't supposed to find out until after you were gone." I couldn't breathe. I remember thinking that I was having a heart attack, that my chest was caving in, that the room was tilting. But it wasn't a heart attack. It was my heart breaking into pieces that would never fit back together. She said it so calmly, so matter of fact, like she was telling me the weather. "You weren't supposed to find out until after you were gone." I asked her what she meant. She leaned against the counter. She crossed her arms. She said, "Mom, you are 71 years old. Dad is 72. The money was just sitting there. It wasn't doing anything. I have children. I have a future. Derek has business opportunities. We needed that money to grow, to build something. You were just going to leave it to us anyway, so I took it early. That's all. I took it early." I asked her about my mother, about the accounts that disappeared before she died. Allison waved her hand like she was shooing a fly. She said Grandma was old. She didn't need that money. She was going to die anyway. I was just making sure it stayed in the family. Derek said it was smart.
Derek said it was just good financial planning. Derek the smooth, Derek the generous, Derek with the expensive shoes and the perfect smile and the diamond bracelets. I asked her where he was. She said he was traveling, business. He traveled a lot. That was his life. He was an entrepreneur. He was always closing a deal. I asked her what kind of business. She said he was in logistics. I asked her what that meant. She smiled again, that cold smile. She said it means he moves money. He's very good at it. I left her house. I got back in my Honda. I drove to the police station. I filed a report. The officer was a young man with a kind face. He asked me if I was sure I wanted to press charges. He said family situations were complicated. He said many people in my position chose to handle things privately. I looked at him. He was maybe 30 years old. His mother was probably still alive. His mother probably still had hope. I said yes. I want to press charges. He nodded. He handed me a case number. He said someone would be in touch. That was the last day I saw my daughter for 6 months. The police investigation took time. They traced the transfers. They found the Nevada account. They found the burner phone. They found the digital trail that led back to Allison's laptop. But they could not find Derek, because Derek did not exist. Not legally. His real name was Derek something else.
Something I cannot pronounce and cannot spell and cannot remember, because he was so careful to never let me see his driver's license. He had no social security number, no credit history, no driver's license in this state. He was a ghost, a beautiful, smiling, charming ghost who had spent 2 years dating my daughter, living in her house, driving her cars, and planning the slowest, most patient theft I had ever heard of. The total was $22 million. Everything. He and Allison drained every account, every investment, every CD, every bond. They left me with the house and the Honda and the checking account that had my Social Security deposits. That was it. 40 years of my father's work, 25 years of my careful management, everything Frank and I had saved for retirement, everything I planned to leave for my grandchildren. Gone. Frank had a stroke 3 weeks after I filed the police report. The doctor said it was stress-related. I sat in the hospital room for 11 days. I held his hand. I watched him sleep. He woke up confused. He asked me where Allison was. I told him she was busy. He asked me why she hadn't called. I told him she was traveling. He asked me why I was crying. I told him I wasn't crying. I was just tired. That was a lie. I was crying every single moment of every single day. I just learned to do it silently. The stroke left Frank weak on his right side. He couldn't walk without a cane. He couldn't button his own shirts. He couldn't drive anymore.
I became his nurse, his driver, his memory. I did it gladly. He was my husband. He was the only person left who still looked at me like I mattered. But some nights, after he fell asleep, I would go into the bathroom and sit on the edge of the tub and cry into a towel so he wouldn't hear me. I cried for the money, but mostly I cried for the daughter I thought I raised, the little girl who used to hold my hand in the grocery store, the teenager who used to tell me everything, the woman who killed her own grandmother for money and called it good financial planning. The police arrested Allison 6 months later. She was at the airport, trying to fly to Costa Rica. Derek was not with her. They never found him. He had taken his share, her share, most of it. She had less than $2 million left. She had spent the rest. The house, the cars, the trips, the clothes. The life she had been living for 2 years was built on my inheritance and my mother's death. Every vacation, every dinner, every diamond. It was all paid for with my father's hands, his sweat, his 60-hour weeks, his dream of leaving something behind. The trial was short. Allison pled guilty to fraud and elder abuse. She got 6 years. The judge said she showed no remorse. That was true. She sat in the courtroom with her arms crossed. She looked at me like I was the one who had done something wrong. Her lawyer argued that she was manipulated by Derek, that she was a victim too.
The prosecutor showed the emails. Allison was the one who suggested the weekly transfers. Allison was the one who opened the Nevada account. Allison was the one who forged my signature on the power of attorney. Derek helped, but Allison was the engine. She was the mind. She was the daughter who decided her mother was worth more dead than alive. 6 years. She will be 49 when she gets out. My grandchildren are with their father now. Paul, the ex-husband she cheated on, the one she called boring and predictable. He is raising them in a 2-bedroom apartment. He works at a hardware store. He brings them to see me every other Sunday. They don't understand where their mother is. They think she is at a special school. I don't correct them. They are 9 and 11. They deserve to believe in something good for a little while longer. Frank died last January, another stroke. This one took him in his sleep. I woke up next to him and he was cold. I didn't call an ambulance. I just laid there with my head on his chest for an hour, because I knew that once I called someone, once they came and took him away, I would be completely alone. And I was right. The house is quiet now. The laundry sits in the basket for days. I eat standing at the counter because sitting at the table alone feels too sad. I talk to my mother's picture sometimes. I tell her I am sorry. I tell her I should have seen it. I tell her I should have protected her.
She looks back at me with her kind eyes and says nothing, because the dead cannot forgive. They can only wait for us to join them. I still get mail for Derek. Catalogs, credit card offers, a letter from a bank in the Cayman Islands that I gave to the FBI. They say they are still looking for him, but I know they will never find him. He is too good at disappearing. That was his gift, his curse, his whole reason for finding my daughter in the first place. She was not his first victim. She will not be his last. He is out there somewhere, in another city, another state, another country, smiling at another woman, telling her she is special, telling her they deserve more, telling her to open a joint account.
Some nights I sit on the back porch and watch the sprinklers. They still don't work right. Frank never fixed them. I never called a repairman. They just sputter and spray in crooked arcs, and I watch them because it is something to watch. The neighbors think I am lonely. They bring me casseroles. They ask me if I need anything. I say no. I have everything I need, which is nothing, and nothing is very easy to carry. The last time I spoke to Allison was last week. She called on Tuesday. I answered because I was tired of hearing her voice on the machine, saying, "Mom, please pick up. Mom, I miss you." She told me she might get parole early. She told me she wanted to come home. She told me she wanted to make things right. I listened. I didn't say anything. She asked if I still loved her. I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, "I don't know how to answer that." She started to cry. Real tears. The first real ones I had heard from her in years. She said, "Mom, please." I hung up the phone. I went into the kitchen. I made a cup of tea. I sat down at the table. The table where we used to eat dinner as a family. Frank at the head, Allison next to him, me across from her. Spaghetti on Tuesdays, meatloaf on Thursdays, laughter on every night. I closed my eyes. I tried to remember the sound of her laugh, the real laugh, the one before. But all I could hear was the sound of money moving, the silent digital whisper of a daughter stealing her mother's life, one wire transfer at a time.
The tea got cold. The sun went down. The sprinklers turned off. And I sat there in the dark, an old woman with nothing with memories. And the memories were all liars.